rising to the top. Ragamuffin keeps striving in every way. International, what they call me international. When me ride palm rhythm in the move, but the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm rhythm and then we sit down steady. Body me on the place, I with the one Jamalski. We are the general. We sit up on the rhythm and over the mic incredible. I'll be right by the rhythm, move the rhythm, I sit down steady. Every ragamuffin you do, I feel rock and follow me. Jump up on the rhythm, make we ride it right. We chat up on the mic and keep it international. Cause anytime we chop a mic, they call we give it a general. International, when me ride palm rhythm and I move with the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm rhythm and then we sit down steady.
Yes. What is up, everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plug-in Boutique, and I'm joined in the studio for the first time, someone next to me, flesh and blood, Solo Major from Excite Audio. Solo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I've hung out with Josh all day, which has been fantastic. Lovely to see him off camera and see how he actually is. He's not as friendly as this.
Hey, don't give away. Hey, what's up, everybody? I see you in the chat. I see you, Robert. I see you, Simon, Leon. Thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited, not only because you're here and I feel like it's just going to make for a better stream, but we're going to be talking about one of the newest brands on Plug-in Boutique and one of my newest, it's like the new kid on the block, but for good reason. Why I'm so excited, Excite Audio. Nothing but home runs coming out of Excite Audio Studios. Can we say Excite Audio Studios? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
All right, nice.
Yeah, Excite Audio Studio.
So you've got, I think, 5 plugins in now?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We've got 2 Lifeline products, Cashmere Chain, Vision 4X, our one with Noisia, and Motion Harmonic is for newest.
Nice. So obviously we're going to jump into Motion Harmonic today and talking about it. If you got any questions about any of those products or VSTs, plugins, please do send them at Plug-in Boutique and we'll get them answered here on the stream. But before we do that, Solo, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, music, and then what your role is at Excite Audio?
Yeah, sure. So to begin with, I studied music tech at uni and then got straight into music production and sound design for film. And then just started falling in love with plugins and just how inspiring music technology can really be. And then that basically led me on to this creative lead role that I take at Excite Audio, which basically is conceptualizing plugins and making decisions on how they sound and how they look and how they interact. So that's pretty much what I'm doing now, mostly.
Well, so it's almost like you dream up what a plugin is perhaps that maybe you want in your workflow that might be missing in the marketplace and just say, let's execute on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's combining things that already exist in a fresh way, or sometimes, what we'll see with Motion Harmonic, it's creating something that people really haven't seen before and trying to introduce that. Yeah.
Well, if you want, we can go ahead and just jump in because I know people like to hear rather than be told what a plugin does. So what I'm going to do is flip over to the desktop here. And let me know in the chat if you can see that. And why don't you give them a little bit of audio and we can just see if...
Yeah, absolutely. So you won't hear Motion Harmonic to begin with, but we'll just see whether the track's working.
All right. So let me know that you can hear that. Sounds good. We got someone saying, Heatwave Official is saying Lifeline is awesome.
Cheers. Yeah.
So there's kind of a Lifeline. There's Lifeline Expanse and Lifeline Console. Is there gonna be more? Can we talk about it?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, again, we're like conceptualizing these things, but yeah, Lifeline Expanse focused on like reamping techniques and recording in a real environment, and then Console was all about what you do with that recorded signal and like running it through like hardware and all the interesting sort of imperfections that you get from those sort of like analog mixing techniques, but not relying on that too much. We try to be like extend that and expand it into, well, this is what you do with hardware and this is how it can be taken further inside of a plugin.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's check out Motion Harmonic. What can you tell us just out of the gate, maybe the elevator pitch for this plugin? Yeah,
absolutely. So I think that maybe if I load up a preset, that might explain it. But the elevator pitch is basically Motion Harmonic combines distortion and filters and basically automates distortion and filters to add movement to your audio. So that's the sort of elevator pitch. And then the question, how does it do that, is like, yeah, there's a lot of layers to that.
Well, but that's why we're here. That's why we're here, and that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah,
so I'm excited about it.
Nice. Yeah. So when you open it up, it looks like this. You'll see that we've got these sliders here that are moving these like white dots. And yeah, if I load up this one, you'll see that it starts moving by itself, and it sounds like this. So you can probably hear like a few things going on there. And if we go to the side here and open up the advanced panel, you'll see we've got some bit crushing parameters, some distortion parameters, some peak filter parameters, and high pass and low pass filter. And yeah, basically I've got these parameters assigned to these sliders in this like hexagon shape. And when I increase the value of them, you'll see on the in the advanced panel, the values of those are changing as well. So I'm basically automating and controlling all of these different bit crushing, distortion, and filter parameters from these sliders. And yeah, if I just play and move my mouse around, you can hear how some of that sounds. So that's some bit crushing, some distortion. That's some of the peak filter, which is pretty unique. We'll get into that. And then some, well, that's the feedback, but we've kind of got it acting like a little bit of a slap reverb going on there.
Nice. Let me know in the chat if you can hear us when the music's playing. We just want to make sure you hear everything we're talking about. It's a little bit of a crazy setup here today. We had to do this in a couple of hours, so we just want to make sure that it sounds and looks great for you. So do let me know in the chat. My question, though, Solo, is, so I've got essentially 6 sliders here with nodes on them, and when my mouse is in this little area, it becomes sort of like a magnet. Can I have multiple parameters on the nodes, and is there a peak to how many different parameters I can map to any one of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So tell you what, if I just load up the default and just clear all of these settings, what I can do with any of these parameters, so let's say I want to add some of the sample rate. That sounds awesome, like whilst it's changing. So maybe that's something that I actually want to like put on the end of one of these sliders. Now I've got sample rate attached onto there, and I can control this one with my mouse. And what I can do, if I want to add some drive, I can just keep adding it onto that slider number 1 over here. And then if I want to add a low pass filter as well. And what's really cool is that I can set the minimum and maximum ranges of that automation from this little window here. And if I want, say, with this low pass filter here, I can actually reverse it. So I put the highest values at like the minimum value of the slider. You can get pretty like involved with it, but now if I do this, you can hear that sort of like filtering it all out. There is a limit, but most people don't find what the limit is because it scrolls.
So another question, are all of those happening in parallel and then being summed when it comes out of the plugin, or is it happening in the order that I see it, like from top to bottom?
Yeah, it's top to bottom, so it goes bit crush and then distortion, and then with these peak filter and high pass filters, those can be put either before these distortion effects or after. So that's what these post effects little buttons are doing here.
Okay.
So I can put them before or after the
But
distortion.
it's dependent on the order in the advanced panel, not necessarily the order in the kind of macro.
Exactly, yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
matter what order you're doing that there. But yeah, I thought it might be fun if we just load up a load of different presets, see what it's capable of, and then we can sort of dive into the effects and see what we can make on the fly.
Perfect.
Nice. Okay, so I'll get a bass line to go along with this.
And while it's doing that, everybody, we are going to be giving a couple of copies of this plugin away. I've been granted the rights to do so. So
Absolutely.
the way we do it here on the channel is all you need to do is be active and positive in the chat, and that could be just saying hello, asking a good question, and just being a positive force, and we will pick a few people at random and give them a few copies of this incredible VST, and one lucky person will get, did you say
The whole bundle?
The whole bundle, not just one or two, but like all the plugins.
Yeah, so that's Lifeline and Cashmere Chain and Vision 4X as well as
Nice.
Motion Harmonic. Yeah.
Love that. So just be active in the chat, be positive, and you could win. But with that being said, let's check out a few presets.
Fantastic. Yeah, you could sound like this.
Nice.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, that's a beautiful.
Play in the door.
beautiful.
Amazing.
I like that.
Yeah, I love that. So yeah, in a nutshell, I mean that's a ton of different like distortions and filters, and yeah, you can get pretty crazy with it. The heaviest one we've got is this one. I'll just do that for a second.
Death drums.
Yeah, I made this.
Love that.
Yeah,
Love that. Unexpected.
yeah, it's pretty.
But
wild.
I don't knock it. We got a couple of questions coming in. Perhaps we can field a few of these. Maestro DL Styles is wondering if this is tempo sync. So I'm guessing we've seen the magnet kind of moving around on its own, not necessarily when it's attached to the mouse.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have that tempo sync?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I just like load up a fairly like simple filter, say. So yeah, I mean, if we get into the other page of the advanced panel, we can basically see the path, and there's loads of different ways to edit this path and create it, but one of the things that you can do is change the tempo of it. So at the moment we're synced with our DAW, and it's taking 4 bars to make its way round, and instead of having it 4 bars, we could bring it down and we can just have it repeating in a bar. Or we can go really, really fast. Or you can do these really like slow evolving textures, like that's really good for pads and stuff. Or you can do something like really rhythmic like this.
Would you say that Motion Harmonic lends itself to more of a faster set of automation, or a slower, more evolving one with the different effects that you have inside of Harmonic specifically?
I personally prefer like the slow moving ones. I think that when you've got things like drum loops that are normally just like this really static, stale sort of like repeating element of your track, it's really fun if you do just have like subtle sort of like filtering that's like sort of morphing over time, or like, you know, very gradually like increasing like the distortion, the bit crushing, you know, like in a heading towards a drop, like in a build or something like that.
Nice.
So yeah, no, I like the slow ones, but yeah, you can do some really rapid stuff as well.
And someone's wondering, just a kumquat is wondering, what was your inspiration for Motion Harmonic?
Oh my god! So, it's really weird.
Settle in.
Yeah, no one's asked this. Like, so basically, we wanted to do create a creative effect that you could really like perform.
Yeah.
And obviously we're experimenting a lot with like XY pads. But XY pads are kind of like limited by the number of things or number of different directions you can move, because you can move like vertically or horizontally, or you can put like an effect in each corner. But that means that heading in one direction of an XY pad means that you move away from like two others. We wanted something where you could put a load of like things on a hexagon and basically like increase them all at once. So if I put my mouse in the center now, we'll go into all this functionality in a sec, but like I could have as many effects as I wanted here, all different min-max ranges, and then just by clicking my mouse, I can just go and increase all of them all at once. And not only that, like I can sort of like decide how much I want to increase each one, like by like moving the mouse closer, like in that direction. The inspiration for the design came from there was like this system where you could like balance the stats of Pokemon in like Pokemon Ruby.
Okay, all
and
right.
so you could basically look at like how much like attack and defense or like or how fast it was, and the way that it would display was that it would show values from like on a hexagon like this, and the lowest values would be like towards the center and the highest values would be towards the edge. And as you sort of level it up, you see like the stats of like the Pokemon increasing. And that was like, oh, okay, I was imagining that, but like if it was like distortion parameters and bit crushing and stuff like that, it's basically.
That's pretty wild. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no, I got some like early wireframes where I've literally just like screenshot this like weird hexagon showing the stats of different Pokemon like on a UI interface.
And you like, hey, let's make this into a plugin.
I mean, I didn't say it quite that way, but yeah. Some sets of people like.
I could see that meeting.
Yeah.
We need to make the Pokemon plugin. And not that that's not, Pokemon plugin probably do really well.
Yeah.
Steph is wondering if there's any randomizing options.
No, not at the moment.
There kind of is though with the presets and the
you can mix and match presets, which so you can take like the effects mapping of like one preset and sort of like cross it with the path preset path side of the presets as well. So you can sort of mix and match presets. But yeah, I would in a later version would love to see some randomization just for the effects assignments on the sliders.
Yeah, I think maybe like intelligent randomization too, because I mean something like bit depth, it's not if most of it's just always super low, it's just going to be
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yeah. So if you want, we could just go into like building a preset from scratch potentially.
Yeah, let's do that, and I'll just keep reading over here. Keep sending the questions in. Great questions today.
Yeah.
And keep sending them in because I didn't even know about the Pokemon story.
There you go. I bet you wish I hadn't have asked now. Nice. Cool. Yeah. So we've got this drum break that we've got with the bass, and yeah, I'm going to take this sample rate. So yeah, we've got all the usual sort of parameters you see. So bit depth, sample rates. Dynamic is really cool. This basically applies the bit crushing to just for transients of the signal. So as I increase this, you'll hear the bit crushing basically just be applied to sort of the peaks. So yeah, it gets like a little bit more precise, and then you can also sort of tailor that even further by adjusting the low and high. So if I want it to be just focused on the sort of like top loop or just on the kick, that sounds like this. Or I can do the whole signal. But just focusing on the kick is sometimes really nice, just to get a little bit of high end in there, and then you can use it like really subtly, and you're just getting like a little bit of crunch, and then on dynamic as well. So yeah, that's the bit crushing, and then with distortion, like we've got this drive. We've got character, which is really cool. This basically smoothly blends from like a tape style distortion through to tape style saturation all the way through to a fuzz. So that's how we get some of the more extreme ones. And we're actually blending between different distortion algorithms to do that. So
Is that right?
Just on this one knob, it's like quite a lot going on behind the scenes. But yeah, we go through like 4 different distortion algorithms there, which is really cool. We've got the dynamic again for focusing on the transients. And then we've got Josh's favourite module of the whole plugin, which is the feedback. Yeah,
100%.
Hashtag feedback. Yeah, you can control. So this is like feedback that you would get. It's like the really horrible sounds that you get from like putting a microphone up to a monitor at like a live gig or something like that. So that would probably sound something like this. Oh.
Yep.
So that sort of sound. So that's really cool. It's really cool on a drum beat because it tends to happen like between the hits. But what we can do in real life, this would be done by like varying the distance of the microphone to the speaker. But yeah, we do it inside the plugin, and we can change the pitch of it.
Yeah, I think solo. We might need to turn the music down a little bit.
Oh sure, I'm talking over top of it.
Yeah.
That's all right.
But on the frequency tip, I quite like. I just pull it all the way down and try to, I actually like the frequency down quite low, where you're almost getting that like a slapback delay effect. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, it kind of opened up what we could do with like the presets of it, because it suddenly gave this sort of this slapback delay effect. And again, like this is something that we can put on one of the sliders, and then we can sort of vary it.
So it's like a homemade flanger phaser.
Yeah,
effect.
pretty much.
I forget the difference between the two. Putting you on the spot.
For another for another day. Flanging is done with delays and sort of modulating the delay times, and phaser is, I want to say, done like it's like a comb filter.
Okay.
But again, you need to duplicate the time of the signal in order to be able to sort of create the peak filters anyway. So similar effect, but yeah, we can actually create something like a phaser in a sec as well if you like.
We have a question from Oscar, and that is a simple question, but a good one. What does the Blob do? Shout out to Oscar for knowing it's called the Blob. Is it still called the Blob?
It is called the Blob. I mean, internally, we never call it like the Blob on like when we're trying to market it, but we call it the Blob. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Oscar's got the inside track there. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Keep an eye.
Leaked. Yeah.
Killian, keep an eye on Oscar. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But what is it? What does it do?
Yeah.
Does it do anything besides?
No, I mean it is a visual representation of the parameters. So most of the parameters are hooked up to to change the appearance of the blob. So like bit depth will like change the sort of like outer color. Sample rate obviously sort of makes it more pixelated or creates a sort of like grid on it. But yeah, it's basically a way for you to sort of like visualize what the plugin is doing and how it's changing, because obviously once you've got like a path and everything sort of automating, it's nice seeing it adapt to like the strength of the effect.
Sure.
Yeah, one thing that you can also do, which is like kind of crazy, it becomes audio reactive when you put effects and drag them to the center, and this basically uses an internal sidechain and makes the whatever effect react to the incoming audio. So then, you actually get the sort of the blob reacting to your audio as well. So it's just like a nice visualizer.
So that's like a wave follower there. Mm-hmm. We actually have a question. You mentioned sidechain there. Mark McEvan, I believe it says, is wondering if you can pump an external sidechain signal into it.
not at the moment, but again, that's something that we want to do like in a later version. If people want it, like, we're taking feature requests and stuff. It's just as people use it more. But yeah, that's definitely on my wish list for it.
That's a great shout. Where can people send you those requests?
Well, either through Instagram or hello@excite-audio.com. So that's hello@excite-audio.com.
All right.
There you go. Did a clean read that time.
Yeah, we gotta get
This
the
is all
sound bite.
scripted.
Yeah. So absolutely. So Instagram or hello@excite-audio.com.
Perfect.
With feedback requests, send them.
Yeah.
So what's up next? I think we've touched briefly on how the magnet. Is it okay to call it a magnet? I mean,
yeah, 100%. That's what we're referring to.
Okay.
I think it makes the most sense.
Okay. Now, can I set a path? Like, how do I, instead of me having to, I know performing the effect is like, I mean, that from the outset, that's kind of the goal here is being able to perform your effect rather than just have it be static.
Yeah.
But obviously, when I'm doing other things, I can't be moving my mouse the whole time. Which actually, by the way, before we move on, is someone's asking, I think it's Depop is wondering, would this be good live? And perhaps this is a good question because in the studio, I don't want to have to be moving my hand all the time. But in the live situation, it'd be very, very cool to have that fluid movement on a number of different effects on a number of different parameters. So, do you think it'd be good live? And then how can I use it in contrast inside of the studio where I don't need to always be moving my mouse?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So apart from Pokemon, the other inspiration was actually Chaos Pads.
Okay,
which people do use like in DJ setups and in their live setups.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that once you've got a load of like the different parameters hooked up onto these sliders, actually performing it live, and it's something that we want to try and get into like more DJs' hands as well. Like maybe the light version. Not saying anything about DJs, but just like they're focusing on enough without like worrying about adjusting the tiny little parameters.
Of course.
So just to like load a preset and be able to perform it like with their mouse whilst the track's happening. That's definitely something, and also with the visualization of the audio as well. Like, yeah, I think there's definitely like a live aspect to this, and it runs with 0 latency as well. So that's
love that.
Yeah, so that was really, really important for us to be able to do, so that it can be used in a live setting. Or you could have it like someone playing guitar and another person sort of like interacting with the effects in like a really performative way.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, how can I not or make it happen without me having to move the mouse?
Sure. So tell you what, let's hook up some of the peak filter parameters just because we haven't really touched on those yet. And then, so yeah, with the peak filter, we create a little peak and pick a frequency for it. This, just to play quickly what it sounds like, you get a EQ little notch and it accentuates that. Moving that around is obviously really fun, and it's a little bit more subtle than the feedback effect. But one thing that's really fun is that if we increase the Q and then we can increase the number of peaks, and this is basically a customizable like comb filter. If we were to put this in the negatives, and we actually like do this as a cut, this is a filter, like a filter-esque sort of effect. So this is like, so that's pretty subtle, but when we increase it, this just sounds bonkers. So you get this kind of like spectral resonance from it, and just by creating these sort of like inharmonic sort of like peaks all over the frequency. So yeah, let's say I wanted to automate the spread, and we'll do that between it. I mean, I think just one for now would be fine. Maybe we'll put the gain on there as well. Actually, no, let's just leave the spread. Cool. So yeah, I've obviously just got this one parameter mapped at the moment. So if I actually want to create like a predetermined path, I just come down to path. I guess like first I'd probably want to adjust some magnet settings, but we'll get into that in a sec. And if I just come into path here and draw and click add, so we were here, and just go to add, I can pick a shape that I want to draw and just basically choose a start point, choose an end point, choose a start point again. This stays attached, but that's just so you can carry it on if you want to. And then just by pressing the play button, either on the main page or here, we're now automating that slider up and down. And there's tons of things that we can do with that. We can take this node and move it around. So say if I did want to, let's say, put a filter on there as well and sort of filter down as we go up. Just hit play. And you can see that it's automating there as well. And yeah, I mean, you can delete points from here. We can click resize. This allows you to basically just, resize the whole thing, but also move it about. One of the really fun things that I didn't realize, just as I was creating like presets for Motion Harmonic, was if you put like a circle on one of these sliders and then say like move it round, let's turn the strength up and the range down, and just make it a little bit slower. The way that this point moves up to the top and then back down is actually a sine wave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there's like loads of like YouTube videos like explaining it, but it's actually called like harmonic motion. And I just found it because obviously I was like typing in like, oh, has anyone called something motion harmonic? And then got all of these harmonic motion videos back, and yeah, it inspired like quite a few of the presets.
Nice.
Yeah, and
so it's like an oscillator. I mean, it's like
exactly. Yeah. And then you can sort of mess with that, so you can make it like less of a sine wave and make it share between like different parameters as well. So you can make it do like one and then a second one, and then suddenly you're adjusting them like slightly out of sync with each other.
Yeah, the thing that I like about this and doing it this way is it's going to be affecting. It's a lot less linear. I mean, obviously we've got an oval there, so it's a lot less linear. But the way the magnet is attracting or repelling each one of the sliders, which is on a set path, but the path of the magnet isn't on the set path. Yeah. You just get into a more, I think, like a more organic, I want to say, kind of feel to the fluctuation of the amount of the effect being applied. Is that?
Yeah, 100%. And people sort of like criticize like some plugins for being a little bit too like you're always looking at like the percentage, like, oh, I've got like my distortion set to like 65%, and then it like I'm automating it down to like 30%, and it's all very specific and based on the numbers, but you don't know whether like that's changing at the right pace or you started off at the right amount of distortion. And this is like I honestly don't, I mean, it's a different way of working for sure. Like I wouldn't necessarily go to this for like ultimate precision. Obviously we can open up the windows. I just right clicked there, by the way, just to open that up. You can get quite granular with it, but actually normally, obviously I have it muted at the moment, but I'd just be listening and dialing this in and just using your ears, which is kind of what everyone says is like how you should be producing, really.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, so there's quite a few things that we can do here. So obviously we've got this. Tell you what, let's put a more fun effect. Go back to our good friend sample rate.
I want to hear some of that distortion too. I mean, just
Yeah, we can put some drive on that.
There we go.
Add a point down here, add up there, and then if I bring it back down, and one of the things I can do in the select mode is actually curve my paths. And
love that.
Another interesting thing that kind of came out of making the presets was if you're trying to go round like this path and you create like a longer path on one side because I'm like curving it and making it longer, and a shorter path there, that's actually adding a little bit of swing to it, because you're increasing the amount of time it takes to get to the max point, and then it's a shorter distance to get back to the start points.
Interesting.
Yeah, so when you sort of like create something a little bit more rapid. Like, yeah, a fun little thing there that you can sort of do that's pretty unique to Motion Harmonic.
Oscar back in the chat with another great question is, obviously we've talked about Chaos Pads as a form of inspiration for this. Is there an iPad app coming soon where you can use your finger on,
Yeah, again, like, we're obviously trying to put out like new products and feature requests, and it just comes down to like prioritizing it all. So yeah, we're definitely looking into iOS apps, especially with like the announcement of like Logic Pro being on iPads, and the whole AU V3 is a huge thing that we're considering.
Now the iPad is more powerful than my computer.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Insanity.
It's definitely more powerful than mine. Mine's pretty. It's the reason I'm here.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
What else can you talk? Perhaps we can talk a little bit about the magnet and what sort of parameters you have to adjust how strong it is, how big it is, and so on and so forth. What was I calling it? I called it like the orbit.
Yeah.
Which was like the force field around the magnet where it's
sure.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go back to the default preset I've sort of made here, just because this has a lot of things hooked up to it already. And yeah, we've got a nice little hexagon going on here. But yeah, I'll just delete that. So one of the things that you can do, obviously, we've looked at attracting all of the nodes. You can also repel them all, which is nice. And then you can change the range of the magnet. So you can make it, like really, really tiny, where you're literally just interacting with it with your mouse and it disappears, or increasing it more. You can change the strength. So this is really good for like the subtle sort of like pads and textures that I was talking about, where you're just really just moving these things so subtly, and then you introduce a little bit of movement just on like the different on each of the different effects going around. And then we have some settings for the sliders themselves. One of the things that you can do, if you go to select here, this allows you to sort of interact with the sliders directly. And also it allows you to set the start points. So I could start with some of the nodes here on the sliders starting from the center and some starting out here. And now when I go to attract, that's where all the points want to sort of like reset back to and increase the strength. So yeah, when I
love that. It's so satisfying. The when it goes back to go back to your home.
Yeah, and it sounds awesome as well. Like obviously I'm going to say that, but like you sort of like increase like the out there, and then it just sort of springs back, which is really nice. You get this sort of like interactivity. You feel like you're actually like kind of performing like these kind of like physical characteristics to it.
Yeah.
And we've got hold and release times. These are for like the sliders. So you can either have these nodes sort of just snap back as soon as you go out of range. So those just jump back straight away. Or you can create like a really long time for them to take to go back. And you can set a bit of hold time so it just stays in place for like a second and then starts sort of springing back into position.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then the final thing, this is a bit of a deep feature, but at the moment my magnet's on constantly. What I can do is introduce what I want my click to do, and if I go on to like click on, that means that now clicking turns the magnet on. So it's just sort of shorthand for that. So yeah, just clicking turns the magnet on for that second, and all of that can be captures like in the paths that you design as well.
Nice. Got a few people wondering if we can throw a vocal on it. And another person is wondering, Flame to Fame, great name. Oh, rhyming and everything. We're just out here winning today. Is wondering if you developed this plugin with any specific genre in mind. Do you think there's a genre that caters more to Motion Harmonic than perhaps another?
No, I was listening to like a lot of like I'd say like I was listening to a lot of electronic music. I mean, that's such a huge genre, but you know, like anything that's slightly progressive. You know, where you get these sort of like moving textures and elements over time. So I was listening to like a lot of like John Hopkins and stuff like that.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for like a little bit of like hyperpop and stuff like that. So like newer genre.
Hyperpop.
Yeah.
Love
So
that.
these just like really, really like aggressive, sort of like aggressive but like quite happy genres. That
Aggressive but happy.
Yeah.
Send me the playlist. I need to check it out. There's just so many genres. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's a. I've just never.
Yeah, just
heard hyperpop. Yeah.
Anything that's like having fun with distortion and like and automation, and the reason why I was into like hyperpop was because that you find that there's like a lot of movement and a lot of like fun. You can imagine the producers kind of like smiling and having a good time like whilst they're producing like some of the stuff that they're making. But yeah, when we were sort of like, you know, making presets and stuff, we've got a whole folder here. We've got a load of drum ones.
I've noticed you got a lot of presets. That's typically a question that comes in the chat on these plug-in live streams. Is there a number that you can give us?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's up there in a couple of hundreds. So,
wow.
Like at least 250. And yeah, some of them, I mean, the drums, we were trying to get them to work on not just like, you know, breaks, obviously, but also like, you know, electronic drum machines and then also live drums as well.
Nice.
And yeah, the guitar ones, I mean, all of this is designed to be like on sort of like DI'd or recorded guitar. And, you know, people have been asking like whether it's like good for metal or anything like that. And yeah, I, you know, say so it's anything where you just want to be automating, you know, the production and the parameters.
Yeah, I mean, metal really lends itself to distortion, I would say.
I'd say so.
I think we'll be all right there. Oru Music, ORU, has a really good question here, which is something we haven't touched on yet, and is wondering, can you record your own mouse movements for the magnet and then loop them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, absolutely. So,
do you think maybe we could throw it on a different sample, other than that, so we could like, give the people a taste of something else? What do we got here? Let's give them a little dry.
Yeah. So this is just a melodic loop that we've got.
Maybe I'd solo that shit.
Cool. So yeah, if I go into these like evolving ones, maybe load up a flourish. So this has already got a path like attached to it.
You think you can solo the channels?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've noticed you said it had a path, but it wasn't following the path just there. Can you tell me what's happened? Yeah,
absolutely. So when I load a preset, if it's got a path attached to it, it will have this sort of wiggly line. Mm-hmm. If it's just a preset that has like that affects the effects parameters, or it just has like the mappings on the sliders, then it's just this little rotary control here. And yeah, so when I load it up, I've got it set so it's just, you know, basically playing it back, and then as soon as I press stop, that basically detaches the magnet from the path and attaches it to my mouse instead, and allows me sort of like free reign over controlling it.
So what happens when it is playing and you move the mouse over? It will just stick to the path no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, so yeah, let's say I don't want to like use the path that comes with this preset, so I'll just delete it, and then instead of drawing a path, I can actually like record my mouse movements. So yeah, I'll do this with the audio playing just so I can actually do something that I like the sound of. We can use this record button here, and that looks like this. But we quickly found that, I mean, you can trim the recording with this slider and then basically get rid of everything that you don't want. But we found that actually one of the things that you want to do is start the recording in here. So if I just click and press R, it actually starts the recording in there. Oh,
so if you do that while there's already a path, it will be immediately overwritten.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So you have to be a little careful with that. Right. Yeah. And you can find out about that. Just, I was going to say, we've got this little eye up here, and that has all of tooltip windows. So that's where you can find some of the more like hidden features. So if I hover over this one, starts the position and speed starts recording the position and speed, press R to start or stop recording.
Cool.
So that's, yeah, just there. And one of the things that I'll do. Sorry, just this one has a timeline as well. I should have just cleared the preset, to be honest, but
It's all right. While he's doing that, everybody, thanks for joining. If you're coming in a bit late, next time, be on time. But anyway, we're checking out Motion Harmonic here with the creative lead from Excite Audio. This is their newest plugin. And not only are we checking this out, we're going to be giving a couple copies away. And in fact, a bundle of all the EA products that are out already. So to win, just be active in the chat. Keep sending your questions in. Lots of great questions coming in. And we'll try to get an answer here on the stream. But all you have to do is be active and positive in the chat at your chance to win some incredible Excite Audio plugins.
Cool. So, yeah, let's start the track and record some movements. Oh, sorry. I forgot to click inside the plugin itself. So I think if you've got R attached to something in your DAW, that's the only thing to be careful of.
Okay. It's reverse. Yeah.
It's reverse.
We've done it.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah, so if I actually press play now. Cool, yeah, so we've got like a nice little path there that I was performing, and if I press play now, it'll go around. And you'll notice that it's actually, like, it's taking the time that it took me to record, just because I've got the duration of it set to 3. We'll go into these in a sec, but yeah, and then my cursor speed is set to recorded, so I was recording my cursor speed as well as its position.
So, I mean, I think that's a perfect demonstration of the power and possibilities with Motion Harmonic, and that is, I mean, is there a limit on how long that recorded file? I mean, so like, obviously, I don't think you'd sit there for the whole track and inside of a studio. Perhaps when you were performing, yeah, but like, you know, just the fluidity of it all, I think is super cool and really captured there when you captured your mouse movement there.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a few more sort of like things that we can do with it. So yeah, at the moment I'm re-triggering it synced with my DAW, so that means when I press sort of like play on my DAW, it jumps back to the start position, so that's really nice. But I can turn that off, and then that just means that it will just keep going whether I am playing back in my DAW or not. I turn sync on, and then yeah, so this might not be exactly, I think it's probably about, I don't know, like 16 bars that I did there. I can actually make that at the moment, this is like quantizing all of my movements to a single bar.
What's that sound like?
Well, yeah. A bit crazy.
Go crazy.
But yeah,
What's wrong with that?
yeah, we can go. So now it's taking all of my movements.
Now,
And yeah,
quick question.
yeah.
Now that you have that sort of set in, and perhaps it got a little too much distortion there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing there's a couple of ways that we can tone that down. One might be we can actually go into the parameter and roll back on the send amount, or but we could also like resize that entire thing and just like squish it down too if we wanted. Couldn't we?
Not on record mode, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's a time where you'd actually want to be like drawing your path, and then you'd be able to sort of like resize the whole thing from in there. But yeah, no, this was designed mainly just for sort of like free performance. But again, that's a really good idea. So yeah, all of these ideas are really, really valuable.
So if we flip back over to the parameter page, just to see the effects there.
Oh, yep,
Yeah.
sure.
And it looks like the drive gets pretty wild.
Mhm.
How can I pull that up? How much, or the range there? How can I see that again and adjust it?
Yeah, sure. So I literally just come over to Drive and then just right-click it, and
Boom.
it opens up everything that's mapped to it. And then, yeah, I can basically bring down the mix and bring down the maximum amount that I'm automating up to with my Drive.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's that sound like now?
And you can do this like on the fly, so I might actually want to just go down and just really just dial it in whilst I'm listening to now it's just like a smooth little fuzz. That's like over the top. So it's snapping back to the start just because we've got this re-trigger sync on, so when the door restarts. But if I want it to continue, I can just turn this to on. So it will stop when I press. Oh, it will re-trigger again. Sorry, when I press play. But it will keep going. And then you can turn sync off, and now I'm working in milliseconds. So this is doing 16 seconds. I can bring that down. And yeah, so one thing that we haven't really looked at is the cursor speed. So this is sort of doing a quantized version of what I was doing. Thank you. Thanks. That was, so what I could do instead of doing the recorded mouse movements that I was doing, I could go into the timeline. Initially, it's just going to be moving at a constant rate.
Sure.
But what I could do instead is actually start off much slower or even stationary.
So flat at the bottom of that graph will be not moving.
Exactly, yeah. And if I do it slightly above, then it will just be moving really slowly and then gradually sort of like speed up right at the end. And it still takes the 16 bars to go through it, so the maths all just kind of like works out at the end.
Love maths.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, I don't. So, well, I do a little bit, but you don't want to have too much. So we're not being overly precise with like the timing that it happens. All I know from this is that I want it to speed up at the end of my movements, and then you can sort of like, oh, do I want that speeding up to happen a bit sooner? Oh, okay, then I'll move it across, and then it just kind of does the rest for you.
Love that.
Yeah.
So we need to run a poll, Killian. I know I said we weren't going to, but I need to know of the people watching, the beautiful, wonderful people watching the stream right now, is it math or maths? Okay, this is the question of the century. I'm new to England, and I'm taken aback every time I hear maths.
Maths, yeah.
From what I understand, that is the correct way to do it. Not to taint the poll, of course, but I'm just in America, it's just math. There's no
one
no
math.
maths. Yeah, just the one.
There you go. But yeah, so that's pretty much Motion Harmonic in a nutshell. I mean, we can try it on a few other sources. We can keep like working on this.
We got quite a few questions we can get through.
Oh yeah, let's go through some questions.
Be jammin' since birth, another great name. The people who watch our streams have some of the best and most creative usernames out there. It's just we also got the poll running. Please take part in the poll. This is science. Science is no. Okay, so Be Jammin' Since Birth is wondering, could this be used in ambient music? And I think there's a pretty clear yeah. I mean, even what you've just done here is I would say it absolutely lends itself to that. Just a sort, because ambient is very evolving and sort of fluid, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. Like we can do an example, but if we just like roll down this, and then we can increase that, and then we're just focusing on these. Obviously, we can just do.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say it again. The thing that I love about that is it's quite a few different effects. And once you have a hang on which ones you've put where, that being able to record that motion just is going to give you such a more organic feel to how an effect is either coming in or going out. It's, it's not like Ableton when I'm in an automation and I'm doing a click and then I might be able to put a little curve, It's just so much more dynamic. And I think it really speaks, this is especially something like an ambient track where that's kind of the name of the game, I feel like, in that genre.
Absolutely. But yeah, it definitely, I think for ambient, it probably needs some like delays or some reverb or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, maybe that's something to consider.
That would definitely be cool. I mean, dude, if you could do that, that'd be amazing. can you convert the hand-drawn path to a set of Beziers to then be able to edit them? That's from Andrew McCulley. Can you? I don't think you can. Yeah.
No, with when you're actually just recording a path, it's really determined by your gestures, and this is the less editable one.
Yeah.
We considered doing Bezier curves in the timeline, but the way that it kind of works is that it's all just to do with distance and speed. So it's how far around your path do you want to be at a certain time. So actually, curves in this, doesn't necessarily... it's something that we considered, but it's not something that we want to, do for, put in the timeline and make it as complex. But I know in some, animation and video software, you do get, a lot more flexibility over the sort of, types of acceleration that you get and some sort of, smoothing. But, here it's just a little bit more sort of, handmade with, how fast you want to go at a certain point in time, really.
Sure. There's actually a really good question. Oh, it's here from Eric Tutleys. Eric Tutleys is wondering if there is something that you didn't put into Motion Harmonic, something that didn't make the cut. Ooh. That's a good question.
Yeah, I'd say probably with the timeline, I think that we could have gone a lot deeper with customizing how fast you want to be going at specific times around the path.
Sure.
But when you do that, then it stops lining up with moving quickly at a certain point in time. And we prototyped a few different ones, and this was sort of ended up in you can just make sure that you're in a certain point at a certain point around the path at the point in the track where you want it to be, really, and have a sort of customizability. But the timeline could have gone a lot deeper. And then just the effects that are in there, this. I don't want to give too much away, but we're definitely experimenting with other effects combinations that could work. And potentially in conjunction with these sort of effects that we've got going on here. So
Chat, I'm interested to know what you think. What are some effects that you think would work well with this sort of technology?
Yeah, I'd love to know.
There's a few that just immediately spring to mind here. Spring might be an operative word there, but I'm just wondering what the chat thinks might lend itself to this sort of thing. I mean, I think it's super cool, and it feels natural. You know what I mean? And I just think it's great. I think you've done a really great job. Excite Audio, I mean, we love... At the Plugin Boutique community loves all of the plugins. Maybe while we are, first of all, about to wrap up the poll, so please chime in on that. That's important to me. If you like me and like what we do here, please, from me. What about you? Is it math or maths? So
maths, just a UK-US difference. So
okay, all right.
Sorry.
Okay, don't be sorry. Listen, don't be sorry for who you are.
You invited me on the stream. I'm telling you, speaking wrong.
Yeah, just made it awkward.
Yeah.
If you have any more questions about Motion Harmonic, do send them in. It's been about an hour. I don't want to take up too much more of the creative lead of VST Company's time, but if you have any more questions, do send them in. Vote in the poll. And like I said, it's not too late to be entered into the giveaway. We are giving away 2 copies of Motion Harmonic and a bundle of all the plugins from Excite Audio. Can you just give us the rundown of the list of products and the elevator pitch for each one?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Lifeline Expanse and Lifeline Console. Lifeline Expanse focuses on recording environments and reamping synths and drums, but obviously reamping guitars as well.
What is reamping for the people who might not know?
It's taking a recorded signal, playing it out of a speaker in a real environment and recording the result.
Yeah.
So it's really good for making things lo-fi. It's really good for putting DI'd guitars, through an amp simulation.
And what is DI for people who might not know?
Direct input. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my god. Yeah. I was gonna say it's been a while since I picked up a guitar. And so it was obviously good for that, but we wanted it to work with like, you know, synths and like drum buses and stuff like that.
And without all the pesky wiring and amps needed and microphones, and it's a lot of equipment to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And Lifeline Expanse allows you to sort of like control the stereo width, so that's sort of emulating different microphone setups where you
Sure.
maybe have like more of like an XY setup or like stereo, like left and right microphones. But yeah, so Lifeline Expanse all about like recording and reamping. Lifeline Console is all about like what you do with that recorded signal. So it's basically like running that through like some hardware like a EQ, a compressor, and a preamp, and really embraces like the imperfections in some of that hardware. And then also we've sort of mixed that in the channel strip with modulation and wear of analog format. So it's everything from taking like, you've got this recorded signal out of Lifeline Expanse and you're putting it into Lifeline Console and mixing it, making it nice and lo-fi, adding some warble and some sort of like, sort of like a more organic sort of feel to it. And Cashmere Chain basically allows you to put a load of effects on a leader, which you load inside of your DAW, and then any changes that you make to a leader are then also copied across followers. Right. So if you had a lead vocal and you had a really nice like vocal chain on there, you could then put a follower on all of your like backing vocals, and any changes that you make to like a gate or a compressor would then, those adjustments would be carried through like all of the instances.
Really unique plugin there.
Yeah, it's something that like mix engineers, I don't know whether they were like asking for it as soon as like, you know, we've sort of made it, it's like, oh, like I use it all the time, and It's really good for just like, you know, making these quick changes. Otherwise you'd be going through and like adjusting the compressor settings across like loads of lead vocals.
No one wants to do that.
No. And we worked with Cashmere, and he's well known for working with these like great big stacked vocals, because like, you know, main room sort of EDM producer. So he's just swore by this technique and was asking for a plugin that did it. So we worked with him to make that. And then Vision 4X is our analyzer plugin that we made with Noisia.
Mm-hmm.
Similar sort of thing. They were looking for spectral analyzer or a spectrogram that basically gave them as much detail as possible in the low end, so they could look at like kicks and bass lines and make sure that they weren't overlapping, and so that energy was preserved. And those guys are known for like absolutely pristine mixes.
They are from another world. It is impressive and awe-inspiring to watch them work. Yeah, I hear tell that one of them can actually produce a track without listening it just by using Vision 4X.
Is that so?
Wouldn't that be insane?
That's insane.
If you could watch that somewhere.
Have you done this?
Oh
my god! Yeah, I'd love to see how that sounds. Yeah. See whether it's
it sounds like a really tough job, but I mean, if anyone can do it, it's Nick. So
like a whole track, not just like bass line and
like the track.
Oh my god!
Just by using
looking at
the spectrum. So that's how important and powerful a really high resolution spectrogram can be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go. All right. So I've done video tutorials on all of those here on the channel. We've got a bunch from Noisia as well. If you want to check those out, I guess just go look at our channel. Killian, there'd be too many links for Killian to put in the chat right now. Sure. But we've covered all of these plugins. We love these plugins, as I said. The whole Plugin Boutique family loves them. The community is embraced them with open arms. So really well done. Keep doing what you're doing. And we're all looking forward to seeing what's up next, you know?
Yeah, watch the space.
Yeah, watch the space. There you go. You heard it here first. Subscribe if you're not. So let's give away... Oh, first of all, let's end that poll, Killian, before we give away plugins. This is... What does it say? 52%. It's a split, dude. It's 52%. Maths wins by 52%. By a slim margin.
Oh my goodness.
Insanity.
I've just seen one question. There's asking, is there an overall wet dry mix? There isn't, just because we to do like a global one, we'd need to have it work on the peak filters and the high pass filters, and the architecture of the filters that we've got is like it doesn't agree well with being like a wet signal that's filtered, like blending, and you get all kinds of like phase issues that you don't really want. So we thought just like separate it between put one on bitcrushing, put one on distortion, and then just give you the control over the two. But yeah, I understand that it would make sense. People expect like a global dry wet, but yeah, in this case it was just down to the filters really.
Yeah, there's another hidden
effects.
feature we didn't talk on. Let me flip back to the DAW for a second, and that is the safety limiter.
Yeah, super important for, probably should have talked about this first. When you're working with feedback and distortion, if you come down to just the VU meter here, you can just click this little like shield with a tick, and that turns on a safety limiter and basically just stops everything at 0 dB, which is still pretty loud, but at least, if the feedback goes really crazy, it'll protect your hearing and stuff. But to be fair, with the feedback, you really need to be like character and drive on 100%, and feedback is amount there. So yeah, hopefully you won't run into too many issues with driving it crazy.
All right, well, I've got a list of 10 beautiful, wonderful people who have been positive in the chat. Don't look at that list, Solo, because I can't have you taint your decision-making power, because you are going to choose 3 people at random. The first person, though, is going to win the bundle. We're going to announce them last, but I need it to be the first number that you throw out. Otherwise, what are we doing? Right?
Sure.
Yeah. So they're from 1 to 10.
Okay.
And it can't be 7.
No, of course not.
Because that means 7. Everybody always goes 7.
Sorry, 7.
Yeah, what's up with that? Pick one number, and they will win the bundle of all 5 Excite Audio
3.
products. Number 3. Yeah, I like you were firm with that.
Yeah.
You quick. There was no hesitation. Oh, wow. Who is this person? Where do they come from? All right, so I got the winner of the bundle. I wish I could write it down, but I don't have a paper or pen. Welcome to 2023. And give me 2 more numbers between 1 and 10. 7 is now included in the pool. You can choose 7 if you would like.
Sure, I'll do 2.
2 and
5.
2 and 5. All right, I got my applause button ready.
Oh my god.
What? This is important. This
Nice.
is an important
You've
part
been waiting
of
all
the stream.
Yeah, I didn't get a round of applause. So.
That's for you.
No, that's sarcastic. You can hear the sarcasm.
All right, the winners of Motion Harmonic are Liz Mariano and Tom Dillon. Boom. Round of applause. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. If you are a winner from today's stream, please email support@pluginboutique.com with a screenshot of you logged in to your YouTube account and just say what you won, and we will get you sorted with your copies of Motion Harmonic for the 2 of you and the grand prize winner. This is a name that came out quite a few times today, and it's very impressive that you chose it from the lineup, because I said we need to keep an eye on this person. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the entire EA bundle is Oscar Stott? Stott. S-T-O-T-T. Oscar Stott. Great questions today. It's great to have you answering or asking good questions and then winning the bundle in the end.
Really, really great.
So yeah, thank you very much. We were talking about this earlier. It's a really pleasant round of applause. Yeah. But listen, Solo, thank you so much for coming through today. It's been an absolute pleasure to not only have you on stream, but have you next to me. This is the format I think we should do going forward. It's just been an absolute pleasure. It was great to hear Motion Harmonic doing its thing by the person behind sort of, where it came from. So thank you so much for taking the time. Thanks for but coming all the way out here to the middle of nowhere to do this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and all of the walkthroughs and everything that you do. I mean, I think you do a great job. So
Well,
thank you so much.
Let's just give a little.
There you go. That one's for JC.
But all right, everybody, that's the end of the stream. We're going to wrap it up right there. That was Motion Harmonic from Excite Audio. I'm Joshua Casper with Plugin Boutique. That is Solo Major, and we appreciate you and everything you do, and we will see you in the next live stream.
Ragamuffin keep on rising to the top. Ragamuffin keep striving in every way. Hey, why? International, what they call we international. When me ride palm rhythm in the move, but the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm rhythm and then we sit down steady. 40 men on the place, I with the one Jamalski. We are the general. We sit up on the rhythm and over the mic incredible. I'll be right palm rhythm and I move with the rhythm. I sit down steady. Every ragamuffin you do, I feel rock and follow me. Cool, you know you love her for your life. We jump up on the rhythm, make we ride it right. We chat up on the mic and keep it international. Cause anytime we jump on mic, they call we give it a general. International, what they call we international. When me ride palm rhythm and I move with the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm rhythm and then we sit down